So you're thinking of selling your home and you're wondering exactly how much money are you going to walk away from this with? So today's video is going to be me helping you walk through what I think of as a very practical step-by-step tool that we use to help you calculate what that number is. I'm going to link to a sample of this in my description box. So if you want to play with it yourself, you're welcome to download this spreadsheet and play around with it. My name is Schumann and I am a realtor in the Minneapolis area, and I make videos to help people make smart decisions about buying or selling their homes. All right, so today's video is going to be me taking you through a little exercise that is similar to what we do when we're helping people who are getting ready to list their homes. So the first step is a market analysis to get the top line number that we're going to be working with here, which is what we think the market value of the home is. If you've never sold a home before, or it's just maybe been a long time, this is going to help you remember all of the little things that you need to be cognizant of when you're thinking about what your net takeaway will be from selling. If you are thinking about selling and you think you'd like to get a copy of a market analysis for your own home so you can see what homes like yours are selling for now, just let me know, because I'd be happy to help you with that as well. My contact information is down below this video in the description box. Although I assume that there is a similar process that agents in other states go through, the spreadsheet that I'm going to show you today applies to the fees that we typically see here in Minnesota. So let's get started. Take you through what I'm calling a sample net sheet, and this is the downloadable that I have in my description box down below. This is to help you determine exactly what you'll walk away with after selling your home. So if you have a selling price of $500,000, that's the example I'm going to use for this scenario. How did we get to that price? Well, that would be having an agent do a data analysis of what's selling nearby for what price and helping you set a competitive price for your home so that you achieve what you want, which is to get the most amount of money in the least amount of time. So that is the price that we've arrived at for this example. And in this example, I'm going to say that there is a mortgage on the home and that the remaining balance on that mortgage is $250,000. Oops, not 2.5 million, 250,000. And that there is no second mortgage. But if there were, and you had to pay off that second mortgage or pay back some down payment assistance or a home equity line of credit, you would have to have that taken out of your proceeds. If your mortgage has a prepayment penalty, there may be a fee associated with that. I hardly ever see that. Buyer closing costs that are paid for by the seller. So in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities Metro right now, we have had a seller's market for years, and we don't see that as a standard thing. Typically, when we see any of this money going to the buyers in their closing costs, it's because they have found something in the inspection and they're taking money in lieu of repairs. So for this example, I'm just going to say that we found $500 worth of fixes and the seller doesn't want to pay it. They're going to give them $500 toward their closing costs. So that will come out of proceeds at closing. If there is a VA loan being put on to the property, there may be a funding fee that is assessed to the seller. We hardly ever see VA loans. I think they're less than 3% of the total transactions in the metro area right now. If the home is in an HOA community, which is not extremely common here. I mean, there are HOAs for sure, but it's not like other areas of the country where just about every neighborhood is in an HOA. But if it is in an HOA, and for the purposes of this example, I'm going to say that it is, you're going to request a packet from the HOA, from the association. In that packet's going to have a resale disclosure, and that's talking about how much the association dues are, what they go for, if there are any proposed special assessments. You're also going to get things like the budget, the reserves, and rules and regulations, the documents that show the incorporation and that type of thing. So the fee that you would pay to your HOA is typically between $75 and $150. I tend to always try to put the maximum on here so that maybe we're happily surprised. Um, the next one would be if there's a question of whether or not there is a special assessment and there may be a search associated with that, we're going to say 0. If there is a levied special assessment against the property, so if you were not in a single family home and instead were in a condo and you had something like a roof replacement or a boiler replacement or repair or something like that that was assessed to all the members of the association at a particular amount, and then you have agreed to pay all or some of that with the buyer as part of your contract, that would show up here as well. And for this, I'm also going to say 0. And then this one's an interesting one. So if you are purchasing in a building and they believe that there is a special assessment pending, they've got an estimate, it has not yet been levied, and you are agreeing to pay that as the seller, which you don't have to. You can, this is a everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable, except for the things to do with the tax and the state. So anyway, this special assessment pending, you can count on them holding 2 times as much as has actually been assessed or potentially being assessed, so that they are sure that they have enough to pay this in the end when it actually comes due. Once that's paid out, any remaining balance in that escrow account will be refunded to you as the seller. In this case, we're going to say 0. I like 0 for that. If you're building a house out in some rural area or something like that, and you need to connect to the municipal utilities, there may be a fee associated with that. And since in this case we are doing an existing home, I'm going to say that's 0. All right, commissions. So for this example, I am assuming that the listing agent negotiated a 6% commission rate on the property and that they are doing it in this way. Like there's multiple ways that you can do this. You can not pay a buyer's agent, you can pay a buyer's agent, you can do anything. But for this example, I'm saying that the listing commission negotiated was 6%. So you see these next 2 lines, 3.3 and 2.7. The listing agent is taking 3.3%, and of that, they're taking their income and then expenses associated with listing that property. The second line here on the buyer's agent, so this would be the listing agent takes a chunk of the commission that you've agreed to pay them, and they give that to the buyer's agent. So that's what these 2 lines are. Then there is a broker admin fee, and every broker has a different fee. For this case, I'm going to say $500. I've seen these as high as $1,000. That fee goes to pay people that work in the office, people that are managing the documents on the back end, our long-term storage of the files, etc. And then you're going to pay a closing fee to title. So the title company works with the bank. They manage all the disbursement of funds. They make sure that there are no liens on the property. They verify that any repairs, etc., are done prior to closing. And that amount is typically around $1,500. Okay, in Minnesota, there is a state deed tax, and that state deed tax is $3.40 per thousand. So in this case, it would $3.40 for $500,000 would get you to $1,700 being paid to the state. There is a recording fee for that deed, and that is $45 every single transaction. And then prorated real estate taxes. So in Minnesota, we are assessed annually. So for this case, I'm going to say that we are assessed at $4,000 a year for this property. We pay that in 2 chunks. Every 6 months, we pay our real estate taxes. So for this example, I'm going to assume that they lived in the property for 3 months out of the 6-month period. That's 25% of the year, and they're going to pay 25% of the taxes, or 25% of the period. I'm sorry, 50% of the period, but 25% of the year, which is $1,000. Other expenses. So if you live out in the country, you may need a survey, you may need to get your water tested, there may need to be a certification on your septic tank, etc. But as mentioned, we are in a existing suburban home. We don't have to worry about that. If you have a well dug or capped, you may need to pay the state $30 to register that. And then every single transaction in the state of Minnesota gets a $5 conservation fee assessed to it. So now we get to the end and we see the total estimated expenses is $285,430, which means you're going to walk away with $214,570. Okay. Now I want to go through this one more time just at a higher rate. And oftentimes when we're doing this for sellers, we do it at 3 different price points. So you can see if you get under what you think you're going to get or over or right at, right? So say this house got 525 and we still have to pay off that $250,000 mortgage, and we're not paying a second mortgage or a prepayment penalty, or oops, we are going to pay the $500 to the buyer. Zero on the VA, zero on the VA, $150 to get your association package, zero for the special assessments, all the way down, and then the plumbing, zero. And here you see that same negotiated rate is getting you a different amount because it's on a higher price point. So that does change. The broker admin fee does not change. The closing fee to title does not change. However, the state deed tax does change, right? It goes up by $85. The recording fee does not change. Your prorated taxes do not change. Other expenses aren't going to change. That same, why did I put $30 in for the well? We'll do it again. I said there was no well, but now I put it in. All right, so $5 for the conservation fee. And then you see how that changes your net proceeds at the end. Again, I'm going to download this in the description box, a link to it, and you can download it yourself and play around with it if you like. If you have questions, please reach out. I'm happy to help you.